Pocket queens versus pocket fives and ace queen offsuit. This video is one part of a study to determine the effectiveness of tarot and fortune telling with playing cards, an attempt to see if there truly are signs in the cards. Welcome. We are going to do a playable hand the Rachel way. In many ways you could determine what the rest of the hand is, figure it out for practice so you have something to analyze, but this is how I do mine. We have the Queen of Spades and the Queen of Diamonds, empowerment and decisiveness. Pulled them out of my awesome deck, and I have written down what I believe will happen in the hand. We are now going to shuffle the cards and ask the deck what cards came on the flop, turn, and river, and what do my opponents have. And I'm going to deal it out as if we were dealing a hand of Texas Hold'em, other than the fact that I am only going to deal people who are in the hand with me to the river and the cards that came in the middle. Opponent 1, opponent 2. Here we go. Flop, burn, turn the flop, 7, ace, oops, 5, wow, overconfidence, initiative, pomposity, burn. There's the Queen of Assertiveness, but that's pretty worrisome there with 4 clubs, burn, and 10 of Hearts, unexpected good news. So put these aside. What cards does it say my opponents went all in with? Pocket fives. Look at that. Disruption and imbalance certainly disrupted them. They got their trip fives, and we still beat them on the turn. And down here we have, oh ho ho ho, harsh for them, the end and a new beginning, and intuition to pair, beaten by trips. There you have it. Okay, I had taken some time to reflect on this hand where I had pocket queens and under the gun had pocket fives according to what I drew, and cutoff had ace queen offsuit. So to recap, I was in the small blind holding pocket queens, empowerment, and decisiveness. And I was the biggest stack on the table with 450. Under the gun, called, just called, with 175 behind. Now, why would you just call under the gun? This is generally not a smart thing to do, but it does sort of make sense with a low pocket pair. You want to see what else is going to happen. However, in this case, I drew that this person was holding disruption and imbalance. The end justifies the mean occasionally, but combined with don't count your chickens before you're hatched, a need for balance, doesn't really seem like a great hand if you look at the fortune telling. And indeed, it didn't end up turning out so great for those fives. In the cutoff, still we're saying that it's just $3 to call, and the cutoff, oh, I'm sorry, MP1, middle position, had raised to $12 by this point. Middle position ended up folding on the flop, and so I'm not showing those cards. But the cutoff called the $12 first raise with ace queen offsuit. Here today, gone tomorrow, and all the world loves a lover, a very seductive card, which you need to use your intuition to know whether or not it's a good idea to play. Since intuition and the end and a new beginning were paired together in this case, that's not the greatest hand. In fact, it's not the greatest hand mathematically against 4 other hands, which is what I drew at this point. We had under the gun, calling $3, middle position, first middle position, raising to 12, cutoff, calling 12, button folds. I am in the small blind, and I decide to re-raise to 50 because I am feeling decisive and trying to empower myself by evening out the odds a bit. When you go 4 ways to a flop with pocket queens, in this specific case, my odds were about 42% to win. Ace queen had 21, about 22%. I decided to pretend that middle position had pocket 4s, which would have given them 16%, and under the gun with the pocket 5s had about 19% chance to win. However, if I could have gotten some of these people to fold pre-flop, if I had been 3 ways to the flop, I would have had a 53% chance to win. And if I could have gotten 3 of them out, I would have had a 69% chance to win with the pocket queens. So definitely a smart decision, whether you're looking at the fortune telling or the math, to re-raise here and try and get some people out. So we go 4 ways to the flop, and we get 7, ace, 5 of clubs. 3 clubs right off the bat, none of which is the queen yet, and we don't know that the queen is coming. This is a pretty worrisome flop, mathematically speaking. So we have overconfidence, 7 of clubs, excuse me, initiative, strike while the iron is hot, ace of clubs, and pomposity, which usually is surrounded by envy of some kind. At this point, I would be pretty worried. This is not something that necessarily gives me confidence from a fortune-telling perspective, definitely not from a mathematical perspective. However, as I just said, I'm not feeling confident, but it's telling me to be overconfident and take the initiative and act pompous. So it makes sense. Remember, I chose these actions before I drew the card. It would make sense that on the flop, when I bet 100, to be pompous, and under the gun goes all in for 125, only $25 more. Of course, mathematically, you're going to call that. Middle position folded the hypothetical 4s that I threw out there, and cutoff calls. They have pair of aces. I mean, there are plenty of fish who would call with a pair of aces against a possible flush. But again, as we saw, no one has flush. The under the gun has trips, and cutoff has a pair of aces, and I have a pair of queens at this point. So I'm behind. I went from ahead to behind, and I listened to these cards and acted pompously, took the initiative, and was overconfident in my hand. So now this hand is all in, this hand has a bit behind, and I have a bit left as well. So the turn is Queen of Clubs. Now I have trips, and I am back ahead. In fact, I now have a 71% chance to win instead of a 0.37% chance is what I ended up with on the flop. Pre-flop, 42%. On the flop, 0.37%. And on the turn, 71%. So, what do? I check because there's 4 clubs out there. This is saying assertiveness, and sometimes that means change up the fact that you were assertive. I just took the initiative now assertiveness comes out. That feels like do the opposite. So it is appropriate that I had already written down that I would check. Cutoff goes all in because they now have 2 pair and we're already acting a bit pompous. So I, of course, call because I now have 3 of a kind. What the heck? All kinds of money in the pot at this point. Excuse me for getting these cards out of the frame. Something sticky on my table over there. I use this for art and poker. This is the poker table where I learned to play poker at a very, very young age. Anyways, back to the cards. So, cutoff goes all in. I call. We all turn over our cards at this point. And what happens on the river? Unexpected good news. Indeed, I would have been extremely unexpected that no one had a flush and no one had a full house and no one had 3 aces, yet we were all going all in. Do you see how many hands still could have beat mine here? I have 3 aces. This hand has 3 fives, could have turned into 4 fives easily. This hand has 2 pair with 1 more ace. They would have beat me with the full house. There's so many different combinations that could have turned into me not winning this hand. However, surprises come. Oops. However, surprises come when you least expect them. I had unexpected good news and won this hand. So there you have it. That is how I do the playable hands. I read the scenario that was written in the book, decide how I might bet in that situation, shuffle the cards, ask them to deal me what happened according to those bets, and then I analyze it all from a mathematical and a fortune-telling perspective and just learn from that playable hand that I just tried. Hope you enjoyed this playable hands scenario. Come back next time for another one. You can get your own My Poker Game Journal on Amazon, or you can visit my Etsy shop to download 100 playable hands right now, print and start doing them today, and visit the link in the description below to learn how to get the awesome deck designed by yours truly. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Playable hands were created to offer poker players the opportunity to learn from experience without risking a dime. Please gamble at your own risk, do not risk money that you can't afford to lose, and call 1-800-GAMBLER if you need help.